We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Hi folks, Cesar back here with you. Surprise, I'm coming on camera too then. Okay, my next guest. You probably have heard of John Calhoun, or know him as I do, Jack Calhoun. He is the CEO of Hope Matters and a bunch of other stuff. I won't even try to rattle off because we don't have a lot of time. Welcome back to the show.
It feels great. It's good to be back here. Thank you, Cesar.
You heard our previous
I did.
segment. We've talked about that painfully.
We have.
Many a times.
Mm-hmm.
Slow process.
Yes,
Change.
indeed. A few cracks here and there, like around domestic violence.
A little bit.
So
slowly,
coming
surely.
a little bit.
How are you doing? What are you up to?
Well, I've just written a book,
Yeah.
Hope Matters, the untold, really lighting paths to safer communities, stronger families.
I'm sure gun control is one of those aspects.
It was one of the chapters about a very successful strategy in California, given the context.
Yeah, tell us about it. Yeah.
Well, actually, it's very personal because it was done by my sister, who shares the same genetic defect as I, which is terminal public service. And she worked a lot with teenagers, some of whom were gunshot victims. And the one chapter in the book talks about how she trained these kids in public policy. And they were all street kids. They were all kids who were victims of gun violence. And two real successes. One, she had them off the street, digging into policy, doing research, practicing testimony. And during the hearings up in Sacramento, there were very august testimony from researchers, from this, from that. And I've testified a lot, and you usually get a fairly catatonic stare.
Yeah.
You know, they're doing the ball scores in their laps. And these kids came in wheelchairs, colostomy bags, broken spines, and gave their testimonies about what it meant to be a gunshot victim. She also has some going into high schools. She got the California Peace Prize for that because California at that time passed some of the most stringent gun control legislation, magazine limits, assault weapon bans. Absolutely extraordinary. So the book focuses on programs that work, but it's not written as a Harvard or MIT case study. It's written through the eyes of those who started it, who conceived of it, who dreamed it, and those who are the beneficiaries. Hence the title, Policy Walking. I want to inspire people. I want to move the feet.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. How's it being received? I mean, have you
Well,
done a bit of a tour? Or?
I've spoken a bit on it. I got back from LA. I was in Philadelphia last week. I guess what's most heartening to me is being bought by people close to the ground doing the work. The city of San Jose just bought 150 copies for all folks dealing with kids on the edge and fragile communities. And it ranges, and these are programs that have proven to work. I mean, the numbers are there too. But there's always a story embedded. I mean, I was in a car in West Oakland near the Coliseum with Billy Dupes and Jay Jimenez, who were doing street work, 11:30 at night. I'm dressed somewhat like this. And they said, man, you got the wrong clothes for gang work. You got to get new threads. And they said, what do you drive? I said, I drive a Subaru. They said, man, you got the wrong car. You got to get a lowrider with Hot Wheels. And I said, if you guys are so good, Cesar's got his boys on the corner, what's the first thing you say? And they said, hey, loved one. I said, what? He said, hey, loved one, or hey, nephew. So they begin with the language of claim first, before fixing. And I asked these guys, and it's in the chapter, why does it work? And Kevin Grant, who runs it, it's called Cure Violence Program. It's all over the country. He said, everybody starts with fixing you. You don't have your GED, you can hardly read, you don't have a job, your dad's in jail. He said, you gotta walk with them first. Yeah. You gotta walk. And then we work on the stuff. But man, you come in and all they feel is bad. Right. And so
Makes sense.
They've had extraordinary.
Makes perfect sense.
You know, the language of claim.
Sure.
You're okay. Then let's start. So that's actually the opening chapter, Hey Loved One, which you don't normally read in fairly august case studies.
Oh, absolutely. It's establishing the trust first.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let me then graduate to a trusted advisor.
Yeah.
Right. So and that's not, for most people in that situation, that's not given freely.
You got it.
It is earned over time, over sweat equity.
You're absolutely
So,
right.
Yeah, no, I get it. I absolutely get it. Well, tell me more. What were some of the revelations you had, maybe, coming from?
Well, that was certainly one, and just a kind of a segue, just the way you picked up on the trust issue, the whole issue of police community trust, which is absolutely huge. And there's a chapter in here on some of that. Now, the research isn't in, but some of the cities seem to be operating on 3 levels in this. One is, I would describe as the relational. Shop with a cop, toys with a cop, Coca-Cola with a cop. In one city, I think it's Memphis, plant trees with a cop. There's an Open Up program, I think it's also there, called Open Up. And then cops knock on the door, and they're standing there with groceries. So the relational. And then there are specific programs like bicycle patrol, like VIP, coaching, mentoring. And then there's the structural, academy training, not just hook 'em and book 'em, but implicit bias, de-escalation of force, mental health issues, because a lot of these cops are dealing with mental health issues.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
well, that's what happens when you close the mental institutions, right?
Exactly.
These people don't have the support structure.
Yep.
It falls to local jails and police to deal with them.
You got it. And in some places, I think Oakland, they have clinicians riding with the police in the case where they say this is a mental health issue. So that's a structural change. And they're having a very hard time with recruitment. And what's coming out is not only are people scared, especially in minority communities, police are scared. I mean, as I came over here, going to Merrifield the other day, a cop had pulled somebody over, and he was on the on the passenger side, and he had his gun half out, and the person was reaching for the registration, but the cop didn't know. He was pulling out a registration or a gun. Now, admittedly, there have been horrible situations, and cops have done horrible things, in the history of racial prejudices there. But on the same time, they are scared.
Sure.
And they are having a very hard time now getting recruits. And so there's a big push now.
The trust is broken down between community, law enforcement, and I'm not really sure where it all started, but it's gotten worse over the years, and I'm not sure how that gets resolved, because you're dealing with human beings after all.
Yep.
Right, and self-preservation's pretty strong amongst all people.
Yep.
I think we need to certainly educate our police a little bit more, but we need to pay them more, because I looked at sort of the pay scales. It's a lot to risk your life for the salaries that they get, quite frankly.
There's a wonderful one in Watts, I mean, you know California, in the roughest part of LA, experimental program which has cut crime by over 50%. The police are co-screened and hired by the community. They get a higher pay. They have to commit for 5 years, and they're judged. They're evaluated and promoted, not just on arrests, but on the amount of community context and the quality. And the citizens are part of the evaluation. But what's also happened is the community has ponied up, as they know these cops and what they're going through, say, we got to do more as parents, as faith leaders, as teachers, fill in the blank.
Ownership.
And togetherness.
Yeah.
It's a community I care about, as opposed to I just ride through.
Now, do some of those police officers live in those communities?
For this one, they have to.
Yeah.
They have to.
Okay.
That's huge. You hit a key point. as opposed to this.
It's my neighborhood. I live here. I know people. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's ownership.
And the cops are saying now they wave. It used to be a single fingered wave. Now it's a wave.
Yeah.
And they want their kids to meet the cop, and they said it's amazing. And in Salinas, Chief McMillan had 2 guys posted in a youth center. In a youth center, that was their spot in the Hebron area, the most violent area of Salinas. And and they went knocking on doors, introducing themselves. I'm Officer so and so. What can I do? And it can be everything from the street light's broken, or have you seen the stop sign that's broken? And in that Hebron area, crime plummeted, and reporting went up.
Sure.
Reporting went up.
People aren't afraid to report things to the police.
Yeah.
They're there to take care of them.
So there's a lot.
By the way, the people that put on that uniform, I have the utmost respect for.
So do I.
I mean, but every citizen should feel that. Every citizen should feel safe about asking for help from a person in uniform. And that's just, that needs to happen again. I'm not sure where it got fouled, but we as a country, as a community, need to rebuild that.
Yeah, and there's a history of black-brown policing that's not too noble. But
you're talking to a Latino that was with his African-American friend, got stopped when I drove a Lexus.
Driving while black in a Lexus.
Well, it was driving while brown. It was us. We were like, yes, sir, this is my car.
Right.
It was weird, but...
But you're seeing now a lot of law enforcement leaders who are black and brown.
Yeah.
California, Boston, a number of cities, but they found often some of the same difficulties with ethnic officers. So it comes down a lot to training, a lot to training.
And trust too. I mean,
trust.
Let's face it, the police need to also not be in, I mean, I can't imagine what it's like to fear for your life every day. When you put on that uniform, you are a target.
Yeah.
I mean,
say goodbye to your wife. Am I coming home?
Yeah, that is, quite frankly, we as a community need to have our police feel safe as well.
Exactly.
Right. So, but I do like this initiative you're talking about. Jack, gosh, the time is up.
Up? Well, I just got here.
You got to get you back here.
I only did 2 chapters.
Oh, well, look, we're going to let you do more. You got to come back. I know the folks love you out there. I love having you. So
you're great, man.
Thank you, sir.
And thanks for your questions.
Absolutely. Folks, thanks for coming back. We'll catch you in the future. Thanks again.